Well, the current Big 12 is in decent college football playoff shape heading into the last week of the regular season. But will that dramatically change based on what happens? I'll tell you coming up here in this video. Welcome into the channel. I am John Kurtz. If you have not subscribed, please consider doing so. Talk college football all week here on this channel, specifically Big 12 football and conference realignment. It is time for my picks, okay? Last week of the regular season. My Cats are playing today, getting things started on Friday. We're going to go all the way through both the new and old Big 12, and that includes Cincinnati. Can the Bearcats continue to hang on? I'm not sure style points matter as much anymore. They just need to win games. Win games now that they are in the top four. Here we go. Starting today on Friday, we have two Big 12 games. K-State and Texas in Austin. This has been a weird line, I think, to some. Texas is a 3-point favorite. I would imagine that a lot of that has to do with Skylar Thompson's status, K-State's quarterback. Up in the air whether or not he's going to play. Now, as of about 10 o'clock a.m. on Friday when I'm recording this video, I did see that he's been out there in warm-ups, so maybe he will play. If not, it'll be Will Howard, K-State's backup quarterback. I'm not sure that there's a ton of difference here, and I know that sounds weird because Will Howard has struggled mightily at times replacing Thompson over the last 2 years, but he's a guy that is going to be geared toward running the ball all the time. Thompson has not been able to run since his knee injury earlier this year. Texas cannot stop the run at all. That gave up 300 yards rushing to a pretty bad rush offense in West Virginia last week. So I think that may play into K-State's hands even if they have to use Howard. Either way, I think K-State covers. Call me a homer if you will, but I think 7-4 K-State takes down 4-7 Texas to get to 8-4. So I will take the Cats there in that one. 3:30 on FS1 today. Iowa State and TCU. 6-5 ISU, 5-6 TCU. Crazy that there's only one game difference between these two teams here coming down the home stretch. But look, Iowa State's a 15-point favorite at Jack Trice. I don't think this is going to be the game where TCU rises up and jumps up because Iowa State knows how much this senior class means. I've been seeing on social media like some of the tributes to Brock Purdy. Very, very meaningful senior class to Iowa State that put this program on the map to respectability under Matt Campbell here over the last 4 years. That's going to be a pretty lit environment, I would imagine, in Ames to send those guys off. I think Iowa State will win this game by 3 touchdowns. I expect them to play pretty well. They blew out Texas the last time they were at home, struggled in back-to-back games on the road at Tech and Oklahoma. I think Iowa State comes off and finishes with a bang against TCU today. All right, now we're going to stick new Big 12, or current Big 12 rather, and go to the games on Saturday at 11 o'clock on FS1. It is Baylor, a 14-point favorite against Texas Tech. The Bears need this win badly to stay in Big 12 title contention. Texas Tech, I don't think is going to have the horses to really hang with Baylor in this game. But 14 gives me some pause. I do feel like there's some backdoor cover potential with Texas Tech there. I think Baylor wins by 10, but it's not really that close of a game, which means Texas Tech will cover. Then we go to 6 o'clock on FS1. How about this for an interesting matchup? West Virginia and Kansas. West Virginia, a 15.5-point favorite in Lawrence. The Jayhawks played Oklahoma close, beat Texas, played TCU very close. I'm going to take Kansas to cover, and this goes against every rule that I've had this year, which has been Kansas opponent minus anything, but the last 2 weeks, it's finally brushed me off back of that because Kansas did it 2 weeks in a row. They've done it 3 times this season. Now we have to start rethinking things. Lance Leipold clearly has his team believing and playing much better football. I think it'll be a close game. I'm not going to pick Kansas to outright win with West Virginia playing for bowl eligibility, but I think they're at least proving that they can hang with teams, and they are becoming much more confident here toward the end of the year. So in a game in which if Kansas were to win and K-State were to beat Texas, Texas would finish dead last in the Big 12. I do think West Virginia will pull one out, but I'd expect another close game. 6:30 on ABC tomorrow. Man, have I been waiting to watch this game since all the way back in July when conference realignment first started with Texas and Oklahoma leaving. It is Bedlam, 6:30 on ABC. Oklahoma at Oklahoma State. The Cowboys are 4-point favorites here. I'm just not going to overthink this. I understand the history of this rivalry, and Mike Gundy only 2 wins his entire tenure against Oklahoma. If you start getting into that and getting sucked into that, it would be very easy to move yourself off of an Oklahoma State pick here. But I just think the Cowboys are so much more consistent of a team this year. Oklahoma has been way more up and down, and yes, they may have the mental advantage because of history being on their side, but I think Oklahoma State is just a far superior team. They will be playing in an incredible environment at Boone Pickens Stadium tomorrow night. I think Oklahoma State wins the game by a touchdown at least. I'm not going to overthink it and let myself get sucked back into the history. So, go get it done, folks. Do not make me regret that. All right, as for the members coming into the Big 12 here pretty soon, Cincinnati plays on Friday. Cincinnati plays against East Carolina. Thank you, ESPN, for your dumb ads that continue to run all the time. Cincinnati, East Carolina, they are 2-touchdown favorites on the road. ECU actually a 7-4 team this year, so they've had a much better season than they have in recent memory. I'm going to take East Carolina to cover just because I think they'll be fired up. Cincinnati has struggled, I know last week notwithstanding, but has struggled coming down the home stretch to cover some of these games. But I don't think they need it. I don't think this will be alarming at all. They just need to win and stay in that number 4 spot. I'll take Cincinnati by 10, and they move on to the AAC Championship, where you win that game against Houston, you should be in the college football playoff. Another situation where I'm going to take a future Big 12 team to not cover is number 24 Houston at UConn. I know UConn's terrible. I get it. They're 1-10. Houston's a 32.5-point favorite. But to me, there's just so much going on with Houston having won 10 straight already and looking forward to the massive matchup in the AAC Championship game with Cincinnati. That's a weird game at the end of the year. That's a tough one to get up for, to go play at Connecticut. There's backdoor cover potential. Just too much going on there for me to feel comfortable saying, yeah, Houston minus 32.5, I'll take it. Again, that's nothing against Houston at all. I think it's all natural with what's coming up next week for them to be looking forward. I miss UCF. I'm sorry, I breezed right past that. That game is also on Friday. So UCF and South Florida. Rivalry game. UCF hates South Florida. I know that. I've seen all the UCF fans that I follow and media people that I follow on Twitter being fired up about that this week. UCF 17.5-point home favorites. I will definitely take UCF to cover that in the bounce house. Get to 8-4, and a nice season for UCF, all things considered, with what they had to deal with on the injury front and losing Gabriel at quarterback. I think they'll pound South Florida. I don't think there's any problem for UCF there at all, a South Florida team that's been pretty bad this year. And finally, BYU and USC. This may be my favorite pick of the week because BYU is only a touchdown favorite, the 13th ranked team in the country, at USC at the Coliseum. 9:30 on Saturday on ESPN. USC has cashed it in, man. This team does not have anything left in the tank. They're 4-6. They've got a weird game with Cal still coming up at the end of the year. I can't imagine USC with the interim coach. They don't even know who they're going to hire. That situation seems a little bit weird now that most of the prime candidates are taking themselves off the board. I just don't see much positive happening at USC right now at all. And I see a team that just lost 62-33 in a rivalry game to UCLA. They have cashed it in. I will take BYU by 3 touchdowns. BYU is fired up to be there. I read a really nice article from one of the BYU beat guys, and I'm spacing on his name. I apologize that I forgot. But about the history of this and how BYU has not played there in a long time and how excited the entire team is. A lot of guys with SoCal connections to go play that game in that venue against that team. BYU easy here. I think that is easy money to go take that. So there are your picks for the week. I think Oklahoma State stays in college football playoff contention. I think them beating Oklahoma is better news for the Big 12 in terms of getting somebody into the playoff. And then it'll be the Big 12 championship game next week, Oklahoma State and Baylor, to see if Oklahoma State can actually legitimately put themselves in position to make the playoff. That'll do it for the picks this week. If you have not subscribed, again, please do. I talk college football all week, specifically the Big 12 and conference realignment. You can follow me on Twitter at JL Kurtz as well, and I will talk to you guys soon.